welcome to another episode of Your Right to Know, brought to you by the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. My name is Andrew Couture. I will be your co-host, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Mary Lotze. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine, Andrew. Thank you so much.
And tonight, we have a special guest. It's a small business owner and candidate for state senate, Nick Pirro. Good evening, Nick.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight.
And welcome to Your Right to Know. We're just getting to know you, and we really want to get our viewers to get to know you as well. You're a busy man, so please tell our viewers a bit about yourself, where you live, your family, and your several businesses.
My name's Nicholas Pirro. I was born in Leominster, raised in Leominster. I now live in Lunenburg with my wife, Nicole, and my two children, Nicholas and Ariana. I have four businesses, all located in Leominster. I'm a third-generation business owner from both sides of my family. My mother's owned her own business. Her parents owned their own business. My father's owned his own businesses, and his father as well. So small business runs in my family.
Excellent. Well, this is your first time where you're running for office. Is it bigger than you anticipated? Bigger task?
It's definitely going to have my work cut out for me here. I understood it to be a big undertaking, and I'm definitely prepared for the work.
Now, what cities and towns does your district include?
So it starts in Clinton, Lancaster, Leominster, Fitchburg, Ashby, Townsend, Lunenburg, Shirley, Groton, and Westford.
Wow, that's a big district.
It is.
So many times people who jump into the race have some name recognition. Do you believe that you have enough name recognition to help your candidacy move forward?
I'm definitely not relying on just my name. I feel I do have a good name to those who know me. I've always been an honest businessman and feel like that I've established that through the people who do know me, but I'm not taking anything for granted, and I have every intention of putting in the work to meet as many voters as possible between now and November.
Now, your friends and associates have probably told you that politics can be a dirty business, especially for newcomers and Republicans in particular. I call it a blood sport myself. You must believe that the situation is dire as we face this critical and historical juncture in both our state and national elections, that you're stepping up to run. And is it because you can no longer remain silent and on the sidelines?
Well, I would hope that the dirty politics would be only the people that are involved in that. That is not how I have any interest in conducting myself, or I would hope that my opponent wouldn't. I think it should be more about the facts and the issues facing the district that take the forefront, not about any one of us or anything like that. It's what can we do for the district, or what can I do for the district, not about the opponent.
So why did you decide to run now and for state senate?
Now seemed like the perfect time in my life. My children are getting older. My oldest is going to be graduating high school this year. My daughter attends Cushing Academy, so she's not home. She boards there. My wife is still working on her career, and I've put together an amazing team of people that work with me at my businesses, and they don't need me for the day-to-day, and they fully support me taking the time to going out and helping as many people as possible.
Excellent.
Nick, what are your businesses? You said that you have some businesses, but what are they?
So I have a towing and recovery business. We do police and private towing.
Oh.
We have a burial vault and casket business, which is strictly wholesale to funeral homes. We have a masonry supply business that we sell a lot of the building materials for fixing roadways, raising catch basins, and then we do a commercial and industrial plowing and sanding company.
Oh, wow. You are a busy guy.
Yes, but I definitely don't do it by myself. The only thing I claim to be the best at my shop is finding the right people for the right job. I really have an amazing team of people that work with me.
Well, this is interesting because you mentioned, I want to get onto the politics, but we know, Andrew, you're basically a small business owner yourself, having your own law practice. We know it's small businesses that run the country. They're the sort of the heat behind the engine of the United States. It's very difficult to run a small business now, I'm to understand. And your family grew up, you must have sort of table talk at holidays and things like that with your parents who've been small business owners.
Yeah.
What do you think of the opportunity or the times now to be a small business owner versus what you grew up with and heard them talk about, or what they even say, oh, back in my day, we didn't have such and such? What is the difference? Do you think it's harder now, and why?
I think everybody might think that the time that they're in is the hardest right now. Different times, different situations, different difficulties. It's always been difficult to run a business in Massachusetts, especially in North Central, being so close to the New Hampshire border, with the more regulations that we tend to have in Massachusetts.
And that's one of the things I always hear about is the arduous regulations and licensure requirements and restrictions and things that makes it very difficult to run.
There's a lot of redundancy. A lot of it seems like the positions become paperwork driven, and they're just repetitive stuff that just takes up the small business owner's time and resources.
So you've been in this area for your entire life, small business owner. When you go to bed at night, what are the things that go through your head that are the most pressing issues you can think of in Massachusetts that we're not addressing, or we're not addressing well?
I would say right now, a lot of it comes down to we're unsustainable in the way that we're spending money right now. We're spending more than we're taking in, and the current method of just taking more from the people that are working is really, it's unsustainable for the long run.
Which is basically the taxation.
Yes, absolutely. You know, they're talking about now going after more excise tax, meals tax. There was even mention of tolls coming into Massachusetts.
I was going to say that. Did you hear that, Andrew? That it's the Secretary of Transportation for the state of Massachusetts. I mean, that's crazy.
I also heard a recording of her today saying that she wants to increase the excise tax for anybody driving like a pickup truck. So anybody driving in fact, she flatly came out saying anybody who drives an F-150, we're targeting you. And that includes, Rams, that includes Tundras, you name the pickup truck, they're eyeing those next.
Well, I mean, here again, it's a taxation. This is very clearly a taxation, but we could call it a hidden tax, because oftentimes when we think of taxes, we think of our state income tax and something like that. We don't, our federal income tax. We don't always think of some of these other little taxes that they put on here and there. But so many homeowners have, and business owners have pickup trucks, just because I know as a homeowner, you're always hauling something somewhere,
A lot of the blue-collar workers are driving these trucks, and this is what they need to run their small businesses.
Right.
So it's just one more burden that's being placed upon the people that are out producing.
So in addition to the high cost of just living here because of taxation, what are some of the other issues that you think of?
The lack of transparency is very frustrating. Getting involved and wanting to know as much information as possible. I've been finding roadblocks, especially in the House and Senate, for a lot of their exemptions to open meetings and open records, safe procurement. All that stuff is not public knowledge.
Well, that's sort of a ruse, isn't it? That they have these little sort of enclave conversations that then they come out and
Look at just what recently happened when they started talking about the gun safety bill. They knew it was a hot button topic. They knew that people wanted to hear what was being said, but yet they went into a closed session in order to discuss it amongst themselves about what they want to do to our Second Amendment right here in Massachusetts.
And you never get the name of the state senator or the state representative and how they felt about what their sort of perspective of these things are, and yet we're expecting to vote for them.
I'm new to this, so a lot of this doesn't make sense to me, with good reason, because if you're going to do this job, you would be doing it for the people. So I would not think that there would be anything to hide, or if you're not comfortable with publicizing your decisions or your choices, then there's a reason you're probably making the wrong choice or you're not happy with your choice. And I believe that they should absolutely do away with all the exemptions to the open meeting and the open records laws. If you're working for the people, that
Which you
all
are,
of
which they are.
your decisions should be public.
How do you think of the governance, the quality of the governance of the state altogether? And I'm including the executive, the legislative, and judicial branches.
You know, I would say that there is some people out there that are really have their best, the public's best interest in mind, and they are out there. And then I would say there's a portion of the people out there that are looking out for their best interest. You know, I don't feel as though the bulk of the people, our elected officials, are always looking out for the individual's best interest, the
Yeah.
constituents.
Let me ask you, when you are elected to be our next state senator, you will be only the 5th of 40. I mean, there's 40 state senators, and you will be the 5th. What do you think of that parity? It's to me troublesome.
Well, you know, to get to 6, you got to start with 5,
Yeah.
and we can build from there. Nothing that's good happens overnight. It takes time. So you got to start somewhere, and you got to start moving in the right direction, and one step at a time.
Do you think that being the 5th out of 40, that and being new to politics, that you would have a clear vision of going into it, that you would be able to overcome some of maybe that imbalance of being the new kid on the block or the minority voice?
I've never been afraid of being the odd person out by any means. I don't have any other agendas, any previous dealings with anybody that I need to uphold or be swayed by party sides. I'll make decisions solely based on what I feel is in the best interest of the Worcester-Middlesex District and nothing else.
Very good.
So as you look at your Democrat opponent, who is just completing his first term, what are some of the things or legislation that you would do differently?
Well, I can tell you that I would spend time in the district, and I would only be spending as time in Boston as needed for the votes and the debates. Ultimately, it's getting out into the district and finding out what's most important to each town and each city and bringing that voice to Boston, not bringing mandates from Boston back to the district. That is, I feel that things have been done wrong. It was the senator's job to be the voice in Boston. And it seems like a lot of our representatives now are bringing Boston's voice to the district and telling all us how we should be doing it out here.
Well, isn't that the truth?
Yeah. Now, the state budget, we continually hear that cities and towns need more money to fix the roads. Fitchburg roads are deplorable. Yet year after year after year, there is never enough money to accomplish to fixing our roads. And it's not just Fitchburg. You know, you go anywhere across the state, they seem to forget about any towns west of 128. Where is all the money going? Why can't we get more money for the roads infrastructure in the center of the state? Where do you think the money should come from to help these cities and towns?
Well, getting into budget specifics, I don't know. I don't want to speak to where cuts could be made. All I can tell you as being a business owner, for 25 years, I've had to make tough choices. With that being said, I am well aware that we're spending money and we're prioritizing funds not to our districts, not to our schools, not to our first responders, and ultimately also our roads. Each town has a different need. Fitchburg, yes, the roads are in pretty rough shape in Fitchburg, and other towns have other needs, but there would be more money left in our budget for the local stuff and also the towns that are up against the 2.5% override. That I would hope that we wouldn't be in those situations if we appropriated the funds properly and spent them on the people of Massachusetts before we spent them elsewhere.
It just seems like the MBTA is getting the lion's share of the funding for the roads and whatnot, which, let's face it, the MBTA is an absolute failure. You know, you had a train catching on fire, people jumping out of the train in order to be able to save themselves. It just seems like that's where the money is going.
When you're talking transportation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
You know, one of the things, I think of is, Andrew, you know this because you are a local politician, and in helping you through the years and in helping some of our other politicians through the years, when you ask the residents of Fitchburg, what is the biggest problem you foresee, the first thing that comes up is the roads. And yet, we never see any improvement on the roads. We never see any different amount of money. Do you think the state senator or the state representative actually can impact or influence the budget money that comes to them? I've just heard this year, election season after election season after election season. I'm going to bring more money back. I'm going to bring more money back. And yet nothing ever comes of it.
Well, ultimately, I believe that would be everybody's goal, would be to bring as much money to the district. I'm not a big fan of making promises that I'm not sure I could keep. So you won't hear me tell you I'm going to bring more money back until I could get more information. What I can tell you is there's only so much money.
Yeah.
It's tough. We don't want to pay more taxes. We want to make sure that our funds are being appropriated to the right places, though. So I would believe that working with the other elected officials to try and get qualify for as many grants and as much money as possible, negotiating with both sides of the other elected officials is the way to get things done. I would rather get 75% of what I was looking for than to come home with nothing. So I would say it's a negotiation every which way you look at it, and trying to find where the best use of the funds is. Now, everybody could always use more money. The schools need more. Healthcare, mental health.
Our hospitals certainly could. Our hospitals are closing.
Infrastructure is not.
In your district, hospitals are closing.
Infrastructure is never a pleasant thing to pay for. Personally, I hate putting roofs on any properties that I own. It doesn't get you anything, or it doesn't feel like it does, but it's a cost of doing business.
Well, there are some things like roads, they're not sexy. Do you know what I'm saying? Putting up a fancy new building is sexy. Opening up fancy new restaurants and plazas and things, those are kind of sexy and exciting. Paving a road, that's kind of like, you expect it.
It's a thankless job right there, unfortunately, but everybody complains about it when it doesn't get done. And it absolutely is one of those things that has to be prioritized along with many other things.
One of the things we haven't talked about, and yet we're talking about increased taxes, money's not coming back to the cities and the towns. And I think it's something that maybe a lot of people don't want to talk about because it's a little bit politically incorrect. The migrant crisis. And how do you think our state, the executive branch and the legislative branch, they seem to be missing in action when we're talking about how to handle it. Every city and town in Massachusetts has been impacted in some way, shape, or form by the migrant crisis. If it's not that they're getting less money for the schools and the roads because they're being diverted elsewhere, they're looking at increasing taxes because they need more money to. It's an open-ended budget item. We don't even know when this is going to end, and it comes directly from Washington, D.C. and President Biden. It's incorrect, politically incorrect to say it, and lightning may come and knock me off this chair, but I'm going to say it anyway for our viewers because it's true. Well, how do you think we're dealing with that? That's probably the number one issue.
Well, I would agree with you that the migrant crisis is created on a federal level. That is, but Massachusetts has become a magnet state due to the outdated right to shelter law. And with that, we're putting the needs of people who just got here today, yesterday, last week, above the needs of our own homeless, our own veterans, the people that are Massachusetts residents that have lived here their whole lives. And I am all about helping as many people as possible, but you can't help others if you don't have your own bills paid first. So we need to take care of our own basic needs to keep infrastructure and education and public safety going before we can overextend and be just handing money out to other people. It's an unfortunate situation. I would not it's not an easy situation. I'm sure a lot of these people have come from very difficult past lives, and Massachusetts wants to help, but there comes a point where you can only do so much, and right now we're on an unsustainable budget with no end in sight, with no fix, just to keep imposing more and more taxes, and the more and more taxes that get imposed, the more people that want to move out of Massachusetts. So the people that are left have to pay even more to offset the balance, and it's just, it's getting very frustrating for a lot of people that have to make decisions as to whether they're going to pay for mortgages, if they're going to pay their rent. All the utilities cost more, electricity prices have gone up, gasoline prices have gone up, with no end in sight.
The most recent Republican state senator, Peter Durant, really started making a lot of sort of waves on Beacon Hill about the right to shelter law, and saying that it should be clearly defined or redefined, because I don't think it ever really, you would know this, Andrew, did it ever, the right to shelter law really, it didn't pinpoint that it was only for citizens of Massachusetts.
No, it was never pinpointed.
And I think that was simply because nobody ever thought that it wouldn't be just for citizens of Massachusetts. But now we have this crazy situation happening. Would you support that idea of that, to retool that?
I would absolutely support redoing or updating the right to shelter law.
Now, is the Republican Party the new party of the working class? And where do you see the old Kennedy Democrats in the current Democratic Party? And do you believe that they'd be that the old Kennedy Democrats would find a better fit in the Republican Party?
Well, I hate to speak for other people, but I would say that from my experience and from what I've learned, that the Kennedy Democrats, their party has moved extremely far left, and they wouldn't fit in where the party is currently at these times now. I've heard them referred to as modern Republicans or moderate Republicans. Kennedy was about the blue-collar people and about putting America first, about putting our public safety first, very similar to Reagan.
Do you think you can sort of understand the plight of the blue-collar worker, because so many of your businesses are in the sort of the blue-collar sphere? You're not in corporate America, so to speak.
I feel that I have a lot of experience with the general population of the Worcester-Middlesex District. I've been a business owner for 25 years. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a homeowner. I understand what's going on. I'm very in tune with all the issues that the average person is dealing with. So I feel that I could make, unfortunately, there's tough decisions that need to be made when you're balancing budgets. And
you have to meet your budget every month.
Yes, being a small business owner, I cannot just declare that I need more money. I need to make sure that when there is enough money, that spending gets cut. And that seems to be an unpopular opinion in Boston.
Yes. Well, believe it or not, our show is coming to a close. So before we close, I would want to give you the opportunity to speak to all of our viewers, let them know how they can find out more about you, your campaign. I'm excited for your success. I think of what we have in Boston now, and they're not meeting our needs at all, in my humble opinion. So I'd like you to speak to the people, the viewers, and let them know, and maybe give them your website or how they can reach you. Or
So my website is pirroforsenate.com.
And how do you spell Pirro?
Pirro.
And is it a 4? I'm going to get.
No, it's the word is spelled out. Pirro.
Oh, I see it's on there.
It's up on the screen now. I am outdoor knocking. There's 33,000 doors in the district that I'd like to knock on, so people will see me out. I'm trying to meet as many constituents as possible. I'm open to answering questions. You can go to the website. There's a way to get in touch with us there. We have also the social media, Facebook, Instagram. So we're looking to meet as many people in the district and get involved, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you need and relaying that information to Boston instead of working on behalf of the Boston elite like some of our elected officials are now.
Well, and good luck to you, because Andrew can tell you, you will probably wear out 2 or 3 pairs of sneakers as you're doing those 33,000 doors. And how many pounds did you lose in your first
My
race?
first run, I think I lost about 30 to almost 35 pounds.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the nice weather. I hope it doesn't rain like last summer.
So start packing on those carbs, because that may pull you through. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, you're welcome to the Fitchburg Republican City Committee anytime you're in our area door knocking, and we want every one of our viewers to know that the Fitchburg Republican City Committee is there for you also if you're a registered Republican and or lean conservative and are an unenrolled or unaffiliated voter. We ask you, we thank you for watching You're Out to Know tonight, because we believe that the Fitchburg Republican City Committee, or if you're in other towns, your local Republican City or Town Committee is your only grassroots organization that supports and holds dear your liberty, your constitutional rights, and your conservative values. We encourage you to join us. Why? Because we believe that the GOP stands for growth, opportunity, and prosperity for all people, and we always stand for freedom. We thank you, and good night.
Stand for freedom, so let us all unite to yearn and strive for our republic that reflects our values, that preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and might, that reflects our values and preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and